Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Tuesday, May 17th. And boy, do we have some space weather news to go over today, folks. First of all, you might be looking at this and saying, what happened to the sun? And I have to report that we are having issues with JHelioViewer. We were not able to retrieve the latest information. So this is what we have. There's no new data on our end since May 10th. Now, Mari's going to look into this and see if there is maybe a software update, but we have not been able to retrieve live looks in action anyway from JHelioViewer. So let's get into Okay, sorry about that, folks. Anywho, as I was saying, space weather right now. Let's take a look at what we are dealing with. Solar wind speeds coming in at 553.1 kilometers per second. Also, we are looking at a density of at 8.65. No, the sun's not going Blake yet. Sunspot number 173 today. And I'm going to give you guys my overall thoughts on this, on where we are today as far as this solar cycle. And I'll get into this just in a minute. KP indice is at a 2 with a 24-hour max of a 3. And that is very significant because I need to show you guys something here in a minute. I can get still shots of the SDO updates, but I'll get to that here in a second. And a 15% chance for X-class flares over the next 24 to 48 hours. Now, in the chat, yeah, the dogs do have their own opinion, absolutely. But in the chat, I saw someone ask if this, we're looking at spotless days coming up. No, I did say we need to watch for a big seismic event, and here is why. Let's go over to spaceweather.com. Take a look at the SDO here. Yeah, check this out. What do we see, folks? Besides print. Here we are. That is a pretty good size coronal hole. And usually when you see coronal holes that wide, we can expect some seismic activity. It is Earth facing. Usually the parameters show us that we need to see a KP indice of 0 to 2 is usually what we're looking at, excuse me, when we consider earthquakes at a 6.5 or higher. Looking at this coronal hole, this could be a 6.7 to a 7.1 earthquake, or this could also trigger a volcanic eruption somewhere in the range of 30 to 40,000 feet on an ash plume. Studies have shown that low KP indices and earth-facing coronal holes, the wider they are, have shown a correlation between volcanic and seismic activity of earthquakes as well. So it's not a warning, but it's more of a watch. We could see something strong between the 6.5 and 7.1 range, or we could see a moderate to stronger volcanic eruption, maybe even push 50,000 foot ash plume on a volcano. So we'll be watching between now and the next 3 days and to see if that holds true. But while we're here, tonight's show is titled, Are We Already Heading In Towards the Max of Solar Cycle 25? And I actually asked this question on Twitter. Good friend of ours, David Birch from the UK. He is a very, very well-educated man when it comes to solar cycles. He's been observing those for many years now. Also, ocean oscillations is another area that I'd like to say he has an expertise in. But especially sunspots and solar cycles. Very, very well educated in that department. And looking at this current picture of this sun, and this is relevant, so I'm going to bring out the handy dandy arrow here. Here we have sunspots here in the northern part of the sun. This is the southern band. Okay. Notice the older sunspots are a little bit lower, and some of these newer ones are now coming in a little bit higher. Folks, what's significant about what we're seeing right here? And by the way, when this disappears and this stays gone, we also want to watch for coronal holes migrating to the southern part of the star. Well, look at this. There's one forming here. There's one forming there. There's one right here. And the southern part of the pole is almost closed up. So during maximums, you will see the polar region's coronal holes closed up. You will also start to notice coronal holes mitigating southern part of the star. And also in a max is when we start to notice the two sunspot bands lit up. But where they start from and where they end are two different things. And honestly, the more we see the peak, to me, gives us an idea of the strength of this cycle. And what am I talking about? I'm probably losing a lot of you. So give me a second here and I'll go get it for you. This was also given to me by Mr. David Birch. David does a lot of his own research, a lot of his own work. His graphs are used frequently by this channel, and we're forever grateful for that as well. I've learned a lot from David through the times that I've known him. So where is it? Here it is. I found it. Okay. Let's go back over to the main screen. And this is a chart that David came up with. It's all factual. There's nothing made up about this. These are facts. Strong cycles are the two rectangles, okay? And when we see sunspots in this region and in this region to begin the solar cycle, that is a stronger point of a solar cycle. All right, but we all know that sunspots did not start up in this region at all, or here. In fact, it's fair to say that they probably did start this far south and this far north. And if I'm not mistaken, let's go over here. Let me take a look at that now. That is the 30-degree mark. So let's go back to the Space Weather Station. And we can clearly see, let me see if I can get an image over here. Let's get an arrow on here. We should have an arrow on this page. I've always wanted one anyway. So let's go to image 2, please. No, that's not what I wanted. Bear with me, folks. This is important, so I really feel like I gotta make this real quick for you. And here we go. There it is. A little big, but we'll fix that too. I got it. Okay. So here we go. According to the chart that we were just looking at, sunspot regions in this latitude, if the cycle begins where my arrow is, and down here, we are historically have seen strong cycles. Anywhere from here to here, that's the 40 degree and 20 degree, the negative 20 and the negative 40, is a weak cycle. Obviously, depending on where the sunspots start here or here is how weak the cycle is. But right now, we can verify that the sun is indeed, if we had to look at these images right here, I'm going to keep my arrow right here. Let's just say this is the between the 20 and 40. All right, so let's go back and see. Yep, that's about right exactly where those sunspots are. So take a look one more time. All right, I'm not making this up. So you see the northern band in the 30-degree range at this point, okay? And it's safe to say that also the southern band has went up from here to up in here now. So let's take a look and see where that is on the southern part of the star. Well, that's not right. Hang on. Let's set that back up again. So right about there, that's near the equator. All right, so let's go this. Wow, that's wow. So let's be fair. The tip of the arrow is where the sunspot grouping is right now. Let's actually take a look. I'll go back and forth. What do you think? That's pretty close. So sunspots are setting up right along this region right here. Okay? That would be the right above the -20. Remind you, they should be somewhere where the northern part is, which is between the 30 and or the 20 and 40. But here in the southern region, we are seeing the sunspot band right now creeping up a little bit further. Now, as you all know, in these solar cycles, the sunspots in the northern part and the southern part, as the cycle continues, these two bands will begin to migrate towards the center. By the time we get to the minimum, at the peak of the maximum, we will see the majority of the sunspot region colliding here in this part of the sun where it's bare right now. But we are only in an early part, supposedly, of this cycle. So what does this mean? If we're seeing 173 sunspots right now, where I'm at and where the sun is at, and what it's telling me is that we are getting ready to enter our maximum early. And somebody sent me a chart asking me, well, aren't we too early in the cycle to be experiencing the maximum? I'm not saying tomorrow the maximum happens. I'm saying I believe we're beginning to build up towards that maximum, and we could see a minimum by 2023, late 2023, the beginning of one, and as early as 2024. So late 23, early 24 could be the beginning of the next minimum. Instead, we were saying solar max in 2025. If you go by the traditional 11-year cycle, yes. However, somebody asked me, how is this possible, Jake? We're not even that far along. We can't be near the peak yet. Well, it's simple. Solar cycles are the heartbeat of the sun. Not every heartbeat is exact. Just like with irregular heartbeats, people get them from time to time. Sometimes it's a big deal, sometimes it's not. But what we are seeing right now, and what we need to pay attention to, is how fast we start to see these sunspots migrating to the center part of our star. If this continues, if we continue to see these polar coronal holes closing up, if we continue to see these sunspot bands getting closer together into the center of the equatorial region of the sun, that means we are getting ready to go through our maximum, and we are going to have a minimum early, and not just an early minimum, but a deep minimum. I know, Sassy, it's not good. We've been talking about each solar cycle's minimums. 23 was the deepest in 100 plus years. 24 was the deepest in 150 years. Now, here we are, 25 into 26. 25 could go down as one of the longest minimum cycles in solar cycle history. When you have cosmic radiation rates at 5.8%, and we are talking about maximum output from the sun, 173 is quite a bit on the sunspot number, okay? How many groupings we have is also quite a bit. Now, this is way old. Wow, I need to refresh this one. What the heck happened here? February 4th. That's weird. Okay, let's try this again. That's better. I'm like, why do we have February 4th up? But right now we have 8 sunspot groupings. Let's get a bigger look at this. Right now, 3014 is a sunspot we need to watch. That's a pretty big sunspot. And then we have 3015. Now, 3015, 3017 are all starting to trend a little bit lower. Not saying that we're completely done with the buildup, but folks, these last 2 sunspots that are now Earth-facing and turning away are clearly further south than these newer ones up here. So we are seeing this slight edging of migration of sunspots here in the southern region as the new ones come from the eastern limb. Same thing we're seeing here in the north. What's going to happen over the cycle is these 2 bands here will continue to migrate towards the center to where all the sunspot activity will be Earth-facing, but then starting to diminish as we head into our minimum before being blank once again. Again, I am not guaranteeing, I'm not predicting, I'm just saying what the sun is showing us right now, and that is the possibility with the sunspot number being at 173, with the bands of sunspots in the northern and southern hemispheres already starting to migrate, the coronal holes, we got to watch those now over the next several months. Find out if those are starting to mitigate to the south as well. We could be very well experiencing the maximum early, which will only mean a longer and deeper minimum. Now, I've been doing a lot of shows lately on climate talk and how to debate these AGW people out there who try to tell you that man-made climate change is real, and all these other efforts that are being made right now to save us from climate change are being done right now as we speak. And that's all fine. Look, I'm all about clean water and clean breathing air. In fact, if the world governments wanted to get rid of fossil fuels, they probably should have went with that in the first place. Let's save the drinking water. Let's save the breathing air. It'll help cut down on disease and plague. I think a lot of people would agree with that. So we could work towards a healthier environment and keep clean water and clean breathing air so people don't get sick. But when you're talking about climate science and pollution, there's 2 different things here. And I'm not saying that there isn't any influence at all from human activity. It's very, very, very minor. Way lower than what we're being told. The consensus that the HEW hangs their hat on says 97%. But when looking at the 3,200 respondents that were on that opinion, it was an op-ed, only 79 were climate scientists. And out of those 79 climate scientists, only 0.3% of those climate scientists said that humans were responsible for global warming. 0.3%. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. What I'm trying to explain to everybody, though, is what we need to understand is we are talking about a situation, and I hate it when this does that. The way this thing does here, Mari. I don't know what I did, but I did something. Way to go, Jake, right in the middle of the show. Good job. Okay. Wow. So, anyway, this is from a previous broadcast, and I do apologize, folks. I had a lot of stuff lined up to show you. However, I will just stick with this stuff here that I'm talking about.
No idea what you're talking about, Jake.
Yeah, I apologize. All right, so back to the sunspots. We are not just predicting it. We are observing this actually happening. This was made by David Birch in 2018. I'm going to read what it says on this card. It says here that using sunspot grouping index from the MHD butterfly diagram, There is consistent pattern within the solar cycle observed grouping above the 30 to 40% have resulted in weak solar cycles. Observed groupings in the plus 40 north-south have also been resulted in moderate to strong cycles. There are zero indications at this point of solar cycle 24 that the next cycle will be moderate to strong based on this observation. Moreover, there would be no physical reason for a reversal of the weakening poloidal and toroidal fields within the sun as observed in his first example, which is not included here. But, point being said here, we are clearly seeing the indications that we are dealing with a weaker signal, even though we're seeing a sunspot number of 173. Now, that's not going to be the constant number for the peak, okay? But I know today when we saw the 173 and the 8 sunspot groupings, I'm sure all the Keith Strongs and all the AGW trolls out there don't know anything about solar physics. We're like, oh, look at all those sunspots. The grand solar minimum's canceled. No. In fact, the sun is telling us different. The sun, not Jake Riley, the sun is telling us what's happening. Because of this, what we're seeing, these bands are beginning to mitigate towards the center of... I'm not making it up. You guys can see it too. We are starting to see a shift. And if this continues, then we are definitely heading into the beginning of our maximum. And we could be in a solar minimum as quick as at the end of 2023, in the beginning of 2024. The original prediction of these particular solar cycles and what's going to happen were based on 2025. We were supposed to see the maximum in 2025, the sunspot number of 146 or whatever, and then we'd start to see it trickle down again by 26, 27, maybe 28, we'd see the minimum starting again. So what does this mean? A 9-year cycle? Yeah, possibly. But a deep minimum that only sets us up for the 2030s and 2040s. And on top of that, with that being said, the 2030s and the 2040s, my gosh, what is taking so long? Whew. I'll tell you, technology sucks sometimes. I don't know what's going on, Mari. Something happened.
Is our internet out yet, or is it a browser issue?
Our internet's doing great on the OBS. Folks, I apologize here. I'm not getting what I was hoping for here. But bottom line is the sun is communicating with us right now. It's telling us that we possibly could be beginning our solar maximum. It is very, very possible. And when we see things like this, and look, I leaned on David Birch first before making any kind of tweet or any kind of announcement about it. What I think's happened is that there's like these things where you can slide back and forth like different tabs. Does that make sense?
It's what?
The tabs?
What is it?
For some reason, there's 2 sets of Safari tabs. I don't know. It doesn't matter, honey. It doesn't matter. I'm already to the end of my point anyway, and that is the fact that with all the activity that we've seen lately, with all the X flares, with all the chances of that happening, yeah, we know Safari is not answering or not opening. I don't even know how this is continuing to work, actually. Well, I'm trying to get to our website. I want to show everybody some space weather stats. It's not cooperating. It is not opening the page. That's lovely. Absolutely lovely. So, what does that mean? A shorter Maximum will more than likely mean a deeper minimum, which will mean colder weather, more seismic activity. Remember, John Casey thinks we're going to see a VEI7 by the 2020 or 2037, between now and 2037, the strongest of the seismic activity. Right now, we're pretty much in that middle part of when he said this in 2016. So from 2016 to 2037, he believed that we would see a major seismic activity. And we will continue to watch as the sun is, look, it's like I said in the beginning of the show. No, this is not traditionally where we would see the beginning of a maximum at this part of the cycle. But considering everything that's happening right now, we would be ignorant to not recognize that there is something being jump-started here. And, a lot of people will say, well, no, Jake, that just means this solar cycle is going to get really, active, and you were wrong about the grand solar minimum. Well, no. Because, again, you could see the patterns that I'm telling you about. All right? Same thing here. Same thing here. The lines are starting to get closer. So we're already witnessing the mitigation. So it's not just wherever my source is. It's everywhere we are watching this right now. Everywhere. And like I said earlier, we need to watch the way the coronal holes mitigate towards the southern part of the star. That will also be an indication of going through a max and possibly an early and very, very deep minimum heading into the 2030s. And look, NOAA's already expecting practically zero sunspots during the 2030s. This says it all right here, folks. This right here. This is what I wanted to show you in motion on our website, but we're having issues with that apparently. So here, I'll just show it to you here. There is the lines that I'm talking about, folks. Let's show you the numbers. Look at this. Strong cycles are in the 0.4 region here in the northern parts. All right? Clearly, these sunspots are already here, below the 30. And then below the equatorial region, look how close we are. And this gives you a clear indication of these two bands are beginning to move towards the center. And with this kind of activity today, with 8 groupings, and more to come, look at this. This is coming around the eastern limb. Folks, here's the weird part. This could be a very active next 4 days. In fact, I doubt you're going to see me miss, at least, if not tomorrow, definitely by Thursday, we'll do another report, because this is going to be worth following. We are going to see if the sun is really picking up. Are we in the max? Is it coming early? Is this going to be a deep minimum? And I've seen people say, look, if this is really happening, Jake, this could be accelerating the monitor minimum. And we ain't seen nothing yet. And we've been saying that since 2017. So, folks, buckle up. These indications that we're seeing right now, this is not just me trying to get views. I'm not monetized on YouTube, all right? I don't get paid for views or anything like that. You guys can like the video or dislike it, put comments on it. It doesn't matter what you do on YouTube. We don't get paid for this. So I have no financial or personal gain to come on here and try to act like some kind of sunspot prophet. I am a reporter. I'm an amateur researcher. I've been doing this for 7 years, and just based on observations and leaning on some brilliant minds out there, thanks David Birch once again, and helping me understand what I'm looking at. People like Zarkova. Mari is my paper reader. She knows what I need to hear to break it down for layman's terms. And she's the one that does all the hard work and fishes out all the goodies and hands them to me effortlessly. So I'm only going off of peer-reviewed work, off of scientists who have PhDs and astrophysicists, people who have been studying this kind of stuff for 20, 30, 40 years. And based on observations and what we've seen, the indications are showing that we could be beginning our maximum a lot earlier than we had thought. And we could see the minimum start in as early as early 2024. I think late 2023 might be pushing it. But if indeed what's coming here and here. And again, these things are lining up, folks. They're getting in line. They're getting organized. They've shifted up further to the equatorial region. I mean, look at that. Here's equatorial right there, right down the middle. Look how much closer we are. And even here, guys, I mean, according to this graph, we're closer to 20. I was off by 10 degrees. Latitude of 20. Again, we have to just continue to watch this. But every time I say that, things that we've talked about are starting to come true. Everything from the fuel cost to the shortage of fertilizer, the baby formula shortage that's happening right now. Folks, this isn't even related to grand solar minimum yet. It's not even related to it. A lot of the problems that we're having right now are self-made by world governments with their Green New Deal taxes and trying to ban fossil fuels. So when you try to ban fossil fuels, what's going to happen naturally is that the demand is going to go through the roof. Fear of losing the ability to purchase this product. Demand goes through the roof. Sales goes through the roof. Now they can't make enough of it. What does the United States do? They don't make more. They cancel more drilling leases. Again, making moves like that, not using the Keystone Pipeline, not pursuing more oil refineries opening up or more drilling. Those are what's driving the prices higher. And it's all part of the Green New Deal agenda. And the more and more we talk about natural science, the more we get silenced. Because truthfully, we're letting the cat out of the bag here, guys. The science that we show you on a daily basis makes way more sense than anyone who's trying to tell you about that miracle of CO2 causing global warming, human activity causing global warming. We are clearly seeing a trend of lower solar activity. Even as we speak today, even with 173 on the sunspot number, we are still experiencing lower solar activity than average. Our X-class flares have been nothing more than really strong M-class. An X 1.1, that's not that big of a deal. Sorry, it's not. I hear channels out there across media on YouTube and mainstream media talking about rolling blackouts. That has nothing to do with a solar maximum or anything like that. That has everything to do with the government's Green New Deal policies, and that is to ban fossil fuels. Only go after green. Biomass is supposedly part of that, and it's not. Biomass is more pollution in the air than anything. You can smell it in your water. You can smell it in the air when you walk out. So we live in a backwards time right now where natural science is being shielded and hidden because there's no profit in natural science. There's no profit in the cure for cancer. This is a last-minute cash grab because what's getting ready to happen to this world is not going to be fun for 8 billion people in the world. Think about this. In the modern minimum, we had less than 1 billion people in the population, and we still had people starving to death. There wasn't enough food being produced to feed the people of under 1 billion. We're seeing fertilizer shortages, gasoline price rises, all this problems with crops, lower yields, shortages in every category. And we're not even in the grand solar minimum yet. And the sun just gave us another signal that things are going to get interesting soon. Folks, it is paramount that we begin preparations. Start planning. If you don't have your garden planted, please get it in. You still have time. Build a greenhouse if you have to. Repurpose materials. You don't have to go out and buy brand new state of the art. It would be nice if you have that kind of income, but I get it. Not everybody has that kind of cash at their at hand. So again, be environmental friendly, recycle, repurpose things. Take things that you might have been throwing out, but maybe you could use it to build something with. I don't know. But we need to start moving and doing something about it, not just talking about it. I work near retail stores, and I can tell you that shortages are starting to pop up more than just baby formula. I'm already hearing the grumblings of trucks not showing up. Trucks are not showing up to the stores. There's fuel trouble on the East Coast. These trucks are becoming late on their routes because they're running into fuel issues on the East Coast. Things are about to get rough, folks. The only thing we can do is prepare and be self-reliant. Take care of your neighbor. Take care of your families. Take care of each other. Now, don't let your kindness be shown as weakness either. Be realistic as well. It's going to be a dangerous time. If things continue to go the direction they're going right now, it's going to be dangerous. But with the information being pumped out and the knowledge and the know-how and the tight community like we have here, the more this is shared, the more people become aware, the more people will realize there are ways to get around this. We don't have to rely on the government to help us out. We can do this ourselves, which the government's tried every way possible to stop people from being self-reliant by banning rainwater. Some states won't let you collect rainwater. Some states will condemn your home if your property is not hooked up to utilities such as sewer and water and electricity. So everything I'm preaching is difficult because it's not legal in some states to be self-reliant. So I guess I'm saying prep and prepare and hide. Hide things that you know that aren't going to be happy about now, but maybe if the grid does go down, you're prepared. You have a system ready to install. I wish I could say get ready now and have all your solar panels and your battery systems ready for your house to be disconnected from the grid. Again, a lot of your towns and cities would probably be against that, unless you live in the middle of nowhere and no one knows anyway. But most of you live in populated states and cities. So anyway, that's going to be it for me tonight. I really thought it was important to get on the air and talk about the sunspots before the other fear channels of no grand solar minimum starts hyping it up. Some of these channels think when they see activity like this, that means the grand solar minimum is debunked. Folks, I'm here to tell you, early maximum also means an early minimum. But the unfortunate part about the minimum side of it is that this one's going to be a lot longer just because where we're heading towards in solar cycle 26 and 27 are going to be a lot more quiet than what we're going to be seeing right now in 25. Folks, I'll continue to watch this developing situation. This is not going to happen over time, over the next 3 days, over the next 3 weeks. This is going to take months, but I think it's important to continue to watch this band of sunspots that continues to come around the eastern limb, and does it continue to migrate towards the equator part of the sun? Because if this continues and coronal holes begin to shift more south and they close up here at the poles, then we definitely could be approaching the beginning of solar maximum years earlier, which only means a deeper and colder minimum on the way. It's going to do it for me tonight, folks. We hope everyone out there is safe. Want to say hello to a few people out there in the chat. Hello, Robert, Lisa B. Good to see you. Pete, Knife Collector, Melody. Hello to my lovely wife, Mari. Marcelo, good to have you, as well as always. Robert, Shirley, DKTK, Matthew McDonald, my Twitter follower. Good to see you, my friend. JP64, and many others. Very enthusiastic Gardner. How's it going, my friend? Jerome Schleck, is that his name? Jason Schmidt, also, hello to you. Dolores Hussey. Lots of faces in here. We appreciate all the new supporters out there who are tuned in tonight, checking out what's going on. Guys, if you do want to support our channel, we invite you to go over to the Patreon channel and just sign up for $1. That's it. We're trying to collect as many of those as we can, and the more members we get at $1 or more, if you feel like you could do more, that's fine. But the more money we can raise, the more we can be on the air, the better quality, the better productions, and we're slowly building to that right now. But at the time being, we're pretty confident that we are going to continue to be reporting on a lot of stuff because of what the sun is doing right now. And really, there's not going to be a dull moment when it comes to this grand solar minimum. Even during the maximum, we're still going to have something to talk about during solar max on the grand solar minimum. It's going to do it for me tonight, guys. I hope everyone has a great evening, and we will talk soon. Take care, guys.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.